Your phone buzzes. You look. You always look. Even when you know it's nothing important, you look. Why? The obvious answer is that notifications are annoying. The real answer is far stranger. Your brain isn't reacting to a phone at all. It's reacting to something over 2 million years old, and it has no idea a screen is even involved. Think about the last time you checked your phone for no reason. No message was waiting. No alert had gone off. You just felt the pull. That pull has a name, and it didn't evolve for iPhones. It evolved for something far more dangerous. Consider how strange this actually is. You already understand the trick. You know the app was built to pull your attention. You know the notification is probably nothing. And still, your hand moves toward the phone before your conscious mind finishes the sentence, "I probably shouldn't." Knowing the trick doesn't disable it. That should tell you something. This was never really about the phone. It's about a system underneath the phone, one that is far older than any screen, that the phone simply learned how to switch on.
Holy doodle!
Picture your ancestors standing in tall grass on the African savanna roughly 300,000 years ago. A twig snaps somewhere off to the side. She doesn't know what made the sound. Could be wind, could be a leopard. She has about half a second to decide whether to check. Every single ancestor who ignored that snap and happened to be wrong is not your ancestor. You only exist because your family tree is made entirely of people who checked. Notice what that means. The cost of ignoring a false alarm was almost nothing, a wasted glance, a moment of interrupted focus. But the cost of ignoring a real threat was everything. Under those odds, evolution didn't build a brain that weighs the evidence carefully before reacting. It built a brain that reacts first and sorts out the details later. Better 1,000 false alarms than one missed leopard. This is the foundation researchers call orienting behavior, and it's ancient, wired into structures far below conscious thought. But checking a rustling bush doesn't fully explain why a silent phone with no new messages still pulls at your attention. A predator in the grass is at least a real, physical, immediate thing. A phone sitting face down on a table is not rustling. It is not moving, and yet you check it anyway. For that, you need a very different kind of scientist, working with a very different kind of animal. In the 1950s, psychologist B.F. Skinner ran an experiment with pigeons and a lever. Press the lever, get a food pellet every single time. The pigeons pressed calmly, almost lazily. They knew what to expect, and knowing what to expect made the whole exercise feel almost optional. Then Skinner changed the rule. Now the lever only paid out sometimes, and never on a predictable schedule. Sometimes it paid after 3 presses, sometimes after 30. The pigeons didn't slow down. They sped up. They pecked harder, faster, more obsessively than they ever had under the reliable system, and they kept pecking even during long stretches with no payout at all. Skinner called this a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, and it turned out to be one of the most powerful behavior-shaping tools ever discovered. So powerful that it later became the mathematical backbone of slot machines. Here's the plain English version. A guaranteed reward is boring. An uncertain reward is addictive. Your brain isn't built to chase certainty. It's built to chase maybe. Now look at your phone again. Every time you unlock it, you're pulling that same lever. Sometimes there's a message from someone you love. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes it's spam. You never know which one you're about to get, and that not knowing is the entire engine. But why would not knowing feel good at all? Shouldn't uncertainty feel stressful, not compelling? This is where neuroscience adds a twist nobody expected. In the 1990s, neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz was recording individual dopamine neurons in monkeys while they learned to associate a light with a reward of fruit juice. At first, the dopamine spiked when the juice arrived. That made sense. That's what a reward chemical is supposed to do. But as the monkeys learned the pattern, something shifted. The dopamine spike moved earlier, firing not at the juice, but at the light that predicted it. The actual reward stopped mattering as much as the signal that a reward might be coming. Then Schultz ran the version of the experiment that changed the field. He made the reward unpredictable, giving juice only some of the time after the light, at random. The dopamine response didn't shrink. It grew. And it stayed elevated through the entire waiting period, not just at the moment of delivery. The uncertainty itself was generating the surge. Your dopamine system isn't a pleasure signal. It's a prediction signal. It fires hardest not when you get something good, but when you don't know if you're about to. This single discovery quietly reshaped how scientists understand motivation itself. Reward isn't the point. The gap before the reward is the point. So when your phone screen lights up, the dopamine isn't rewarding the message. It's rewarding the uncertainty right before you see it. That half second between the buzz and the glance is doing more to your brain chemistry than the actual content ever will. You could open the notification and find nothing but a shipping update, and the half second of not knowing that came before, it would already have done its work. Now stretch this back further. Why would a brain evolve to find uncertainty rewarding in the first place? Wouldn't a species be safer chasing sure things? This is where the deep dive gets genuinely strange. Neuroendocrinologist Robert Sapolsky has spent decades studying stress and reward in primates, and his work points to something counterintuitive. Certainty is efficient, but uncertainty is what drives exploration. A species that only pursued guaranteed rewards would starve the moment the environment changed because guaranteed rewards run out. The berry bush you know about today will be picked clean by next season. Ancestral humans who felt a small dopamine thrill from checking the unknown, a new ridge, a new sound, a new social signal, were the ones who found new food sources, new mates, new information before anyone else did. The checking impulse wasn't a flaw, it was a foraging strategy, refined over hundreds of thousands of years, for a world made of scattered, unpredictable resources. Sapolsky's work also points to something else, something that matters a great deal here. The dopamine surge tied to uncertainty is often larger than the dopamine surge tied to the reward itself once it finally arrives. The anticipation outweighs the payoff, which means the most intense part of checking your phone isn't reading the message. It's the half second before you see whether there is one. Your ancestors were foraging for berries and warning signs. You are foraging for notifications. Same circuitry, different terrain. Here's the counterintuitive twist buried inside all of this. The problem isn't that your phone is too exciting. The problem is that it's too easy. In the ancestral environment, checking cost something. Standing up, walking toward the sound, scanning the horizon, all of it burned energy and carried real risk. A wrong guess about which direction to forage could cost an entire afternoon. That cost kept the checking impulse in rough balance with actual danger and actual reward. A natural break built into the terrain itself. Your phone removed the cost entirely. You can pull the lever 100 times a minute, from a couch, without moving a muscle, without spending a single calorie, without any risk at all. The reward circuitry is completely unchanged from the version that kept your ancestors alive. The friction that used to regulate it is simply gone, and nothing has replaced it. This is why willpower alone rarely fixes the problem. You're not fighting a bad habit in the way you might fight a craving for sugar. You're fighting a system that worked flawlessly for roughly 300,000 years and only became a liability in the last 15. The system isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do, in an environment it was never built for. There's a modern mirror to all of this that most people never notice, because it happens right in front of them, in miniature. Watch a toddler with a toy that lights up unpredictably versus one that lights up every single time. The toddler will play with the unpredictable one far longer, even after the novelty of the reliable toy should have worn off in the opposite direction. It isn't a design flaw in the toddler. It's the same variable ratio machinery Skinner found in pigeons, the same prediction-driven dopamine Schultz found in monkeys, running quietly in a 3-year-old, running in you, running in everyone scrolling a feed that refreshes with new, unpredictable content every single pull of the finger. Social media designers know this. Slot machine designers have known it for a century. The only party in this arrangement who usually doesn't know it is the person holding the phone. Think about what this means for the number of times you check your phone in a single day. Most people guess somewhere around 20 or 30. The real number, when researchers actually measure it, tends to land closer to 80 or 100. That gap between what you think you do and what you actually do is not a failure of memory. It's a sign of how automatic the behavior has become. An action has to become almost invisible to you before it can happen that many times without you noticing the pattern. And here is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. None of this required you to be weak-willed, distracted, or undisciplined. It required only that you have a functioning human brain, inherited from ancestors who survived precisely because that brain refused to leave a rustle in the grass unchecked. The very same trait that let your bloodline outlast leopards, famine, and 100,000 years of uncertainty is the trait now steering your thumb toward a glowing rectangle 40 times before lunch. Understanding this doesn't switch the system off, but it does change what the buzz means. It's no longer a mystery, an accident, or a personal failing. It's a 2-million-year-old alarm ringing in a world that finally figured out how to make it ring on command. So think again about that buzz in your pocket. It isn't really asking you to check a message. It's asking your 2-million-year-old orienting system to scan the grass one more time, just in case this is the sound that matters. Your ancestors survived by never being able to ignore that sound completely. You're not addicted to your phone. You're the descendant of the ones who couldn't stop checking the rustle in the grass. Hey guys, if you enjoyed my second video on this channel, please subscribe and leave a feedback comment. I would really appreciate it since I just started uploading, and any feedback is very useful and taken fully as constructive. This has been the Holy Doodle, and thank you for watching.